Good job.
What's up, guys? It's Collin Coates from Built2Wander. I'm out here with my wife's two-door Ford Bronco Badlands. We showed you guys this thing a couple months back where we walked through some of the different aspects that we plan to modify for the build. Since then, we've made some changes. We've had a chance to get this thing out to Moab, Utah, did some off-roading. So we want to update you on what we've accomplished, how well this thing works off-road, and hint at a couple future modifications that we have in store as well. Before we get started, do me a quick favor, like this video, subscribe to Driving Line's channel, and let's get after it. So you guys saw a preview of this Bronco build a couple months ago. With the help of Matt Thompson and 3D Off-Road and Chris Hefty from Hefty Fabworks, we were able to put this build together just in time for Moab, Utah. We went out there for a full week, hit plenty of trails in this thing, and had a blast. So we really wanted to key you guys in on all the changes we made, how well this thing performed off-road, and then hint at some of the future changes we still have planned, especially as we get this thing geared up for SEMA. Starting with wheels and tires, we originally planned to run a 38-inch Ridge Grappler. We weren't able to get the aftermarket suspension in time for Moab, so we went ahead and ran a 35-inch Nitto tire trail grappler for the time being. The 35-inch trail grappler fits really nice in that wheel well with that stock suspension, allowed us to get full cycle of the suspension without rubbing any fenders or any other parts of the body. So it worked out really well. The 35-inch trail grappler looks a lot more aggressive than stock. It's got a tough sidewall, which works really well out there in Moab, especially when we air these things down. And then on road, we're really not giving up any of that quiet, nice, comfortable performance. And that's so key because my wife drives this thing every day. She's already got 10,000 miles on this vehicle, and we just picked it up last October. So we haven't had it for too long. That shows how much she drives it, and the trail grappler is just a really nice compromise. Really doesn't get in the way of fuel economy or anything like that. So we went ahead and installed the RTR Tech 6 off-road wheels. They've got that really nice satin black finish in a zero offset, which allows us to keep that wheel and tire combination underneath the factory fender flare. Definitely gives it a more aggressive look, but maintains that factory stance, which we really like. We added a set of Apex valves to those RTR wheels, which allows us to air down super fast and efficiently. That came in handy in Moab. I mean, the first thing we did when we got to the trailhead was air down for the week. To give that tire a little bit more grip on some of those trails and some of those different obstacles, allow us to really use that tough sidewall that the Nitto Trail Grappler has. So moving on from wheels and tires, we've got the front bumper from Hefty Fabworks dialed. As we showed you before, this thing has all the factory functionality integrated. So we've got that front-facing camera relocated. We've got all the factory parking sensors and even that factory on-road sensor that works with things like adaptive cruise control. So on-road, we lost zero functionality. The nice thing is we've got that one winch installed with a Factor 55 Fairlead and Ultra hook. So we've got recovery dialed, and we've got those Baja Designs S2s and Squadrons up front. Plenty of bright light for off-roading at night or even out on these back roads in the mountains of Colorado. I know you saw a sneak peek of the Hefty Fabworks rear bumper. We've got that installed as well. Both front and rear bumpers have a much higher clearance, which improves approach and departure angles dramatically. And we added a set of S2 reverse lights in that rear bumper. And Chris also made sure to maintain those factory parking sensors. So again, not giving up any factory functionality with these bumpers, but gaining a ton of capability off-road. Now that we've got the front and rear bumpers dialed, we needed a heavy-duty rock rail or rock slider to protect the body of this thing when we get off-road. So we turned to RockSlide Engineering. They're really well known for their step slider, and they've got versions produced for the 2- and 4-door Bronco. So we added their step slider to this Bronco. The nice thing is when you're driving around town, getting in and out of the Bronco every day, that step drops out, makes it really easy to get in and outside of it, and makes a huge difference for my wife. Now, when you're off-road, you turn the switch and those steps don't drop out, so you don't have to worry about opening the door on the trail and drilling a rock. But they actually function as true functional rock sliders, and we can show you some of the rock rash on them from the few days we spent on the trails in Moab. So really stoked with how well those came out. They tie in well with the front and rear bumpers from Hefty Fabworks and make all the difference on this two-door Bronco. So the last thing we were able to accomplish before our trip to Moab, Utah was an exhaust system. So we pulled out the factory exhaust and we replaced it with an AWE tuning catback exhaust system. This thing sounds great at low idle when you're crawling through the rocks. It has that nice, deep, aggressive tone. The exhaust tips sit right underneath the rear bumper, but the nice thing is AWE tuning has this bash guard built in, which is essentially allows you to remove that rear section of the exhaust so it dumps just past the rear axle. So when you're off-road, you don't have to worry about smashing those exhaust tips on the trail. So we went ahead and removed those before we hit the trail in Moab. At the end of the week, we put them back on for the street. So you've got kind of the best of both worlds. And honestly, we're pretty happy with how it sounds and the little bit of performance that we gained from it as well. So with all that said, I really feel like we maximized the off-road performance around the stock setup of this Ford Bronco. You know, I mentioned stock suspension, and with that said, there's definitely room for improvement. And some of the things that we plan to do here in the near term is install those Bilstein shocks that we mentioned. And the reason why we haven't gotten to that yet is because we're waiting on control arms. So we're gonna go ahead and run billet upper control arm from Camberg Racing along with their billet trailing arms. That setup combined with Bilstein 6100 series coilovers for this thing should result in about 2 inches of lift, which will definitely allow us to improve that ground clearance. I think that's one of the biggest areas where this thing struggles is it's a little low and those skid plates went through quite a bit of work out there in Moab. So I think once we have the chance to get that suspension system installed, give this thing slight lift, maybe fit a set of 37s under here, it will perform that much better off-road. The only other area I'm a little concerned about is the tie rod ends. I know a lot of people have been breaking those on the trails. Fortunately, we didn't have any issues and we hit some tough trails. We started easy on fins and things. We went over to Hell's Revenge, we ran Steel Bender. We've definitely put this thing through its paces. And fortunately, we didn't break any tie rod ends, but that's definitely one area we want to address in the future. And then from there, it'll be the steering rack. Now we're waiting on Ford Performance to release their heavy duty steering rack because we realize if we upgrade those tie rod ends, the steering rack is the next area of concern. So hopefully in the long run, we'll address that, get this thing on 37s or 38s, and it should be pretty damn dialed. So now that we've shown you how dialed this thing is and talked about some of the future changes we plan to make, let's go ahead and roll some footage from Moab and show you how well this thing works off-road.
do a guess.
How was that, girls?
I need Xanax. I'm glad I'm with the doctor.
Nice job. Okay, you're gonna start coming down, so real easy. Real easy. There you go. So there you have it, guys. Jess's two-door Bronco Badlands is officially built to wander. I am so stoked with how this thing came out and cannot wait to hear your feedback. Drop us a comment below. Let us know what you think of the build and if you have any questions on components that went into it. And as always, hit the like button if you did and subscribe if you haven't. Until next time, wander on. Thanks for watching Driving Line. If you guys like this video, consider subscribing to our channel so you'll never miss any of the content we create here. Whether you're into trucks, Jeeps, imports, domestic vehicles, or anything in between, we are here to fuel your passion. So hit that subscribe button and we'll see you guys next time.